And welcome back to episode 135 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Well, they say third time's a charm. Hopefully, this is the third time of trying to record this podcast. We
Fingers
are
crossed.
facing a couple of little technical hitches. But yes, we are back for the roundup of the latest tech stories this week. And what a mixture we've got. We're going to talk crypto. We're going to talk Meta fines. Not reason. We're going to talk GTA6. We're going to talk Twitter. Well, more specifically, Elon Musk. We're going to talk Bezos to the moon, Sony's new Q handheld. Yes, what the Q? And the Tech Wrap rumor mill is back this week with a couple of mixed up rumors indeed. But first of all, let's talk about this new crypto regulatory framework. God help me.
Yes.
So
Mika,
this is Mika.
our friend.
The singer Mika?
Yes, I'm sure. No, not him. This is the markets in crypto assets regulation.
How could I mix them up?
Of course. So this is expected to come into force next year, and I think it's a couple of years in the making. I think, but really, this is aimed at stopping money laundering and things like that. So, like a bank, you need a license to operate in certain countries. It's going to be the same kind of thing for cryptocurrency organizations. So anyone planning to issue, trade, or store crypto assets like digital wallets is going to require one of these crypto licenses to operate within the EU. As I mentioned, it's really to prevent use of cryptocurrencies to launder money. So any organization dealing cryptocurrency purchases, trading would be required to kind of collect, make accessible certain information about, who the sender is, who it's going to, total number of assets being transferred, etc. So goodbye anonymity. I can't say it.
Anonymity. That's the one.
Goodbye hiding.
Well, this is the weird thing, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, when we talk about crypto, the side that everybody really talks about is the criminality, isn't it? The people, as you say, money laundering, the people doing Ponzi schemes, the people, buying stuff on, Silk. What's it? The Silk.
Silk Road, wasn't it?
Silk Road, wasn't it?
That was the one.
And we've talked about a long time, about the different, crypto finance houses that have crashed. This is not new. So actually, this is probably the reality of what the world needs is frameworks here for regulatory base, which I know completely goes against the ethos of cryptocurrency and regulation. But, quite frankly, this is why we can't have nice things, because people absolutely cannot stick to using it in the right manner. So, this is now, if you want to use crypto assets, this isn't stopping me or you from doing it, but this is if you want to trade them, isn't it? Or you want to use it in business or store it, or you want to create an organization, as you say, that transfers crypto between
exchange or something like that.
And I think, as you say, this Mika piece has come as part of it's come under the new DORA Act, isn't it, that we talked about the other week?
I think
so this is digital finance regulation that was inside DORA. So Mika and DORA. No, this sounds like a really weird party now. But the other thing,
TV program.
It probably is, isn't it? Yeah. So interesting. I did when I was reading about this. So it seems like the Swedes, excuse me, kind of were a little bit angry about this, weren't they? So the Swedish finance minister was quoted as saying, today's decision is bad news for those who have misused crypto assets for their illegal activities to circumvent EU sanctions or to finance terrorism and war. I mean, that's pretty direct.
It is, yeah, definitely. It's interesting here is that there was one other rule that was meant to be in it but got taken out of the draft, and that was around banning the use of energy-intensive proof of work. So, I mean, if that
which is what we talked about,
Bitcoin would have been dead in the water, illegal in the EU, and obviously Ethereum would have been, but Ethereum moved to proof of stake rather than proof of work, so they're okay. But yeah, coins like Bitcoin would have been legal, I suppose.
I mean, that would have been very China-esque, wouldn't it?
Very, but I mean, I could see the reasons behind it. The amount of energy that Bitcoin uses and potentially damage to the planet because of all that energy it's using. I can see the reasons for it, but yeah, they decided to drop that.
Yeah, I think it's probably a better way. You can't kill everything off in one go, and then we would have accusations, I suppose, then that this was China, not the EU. But look, I'm all for this. I think this needs to have. We've talked massively about crypto, the problems with it. There needs to be regulation. You can't move this forward without regulation. We know this was going to come down. I'm surprised the US hasn't done already, but I think they're having some issues getting it through Congress, aren't they? And similar legislation. But they have. The US is not afraid to fine crypto companies. We've seen that massively. The old FTX scandal is probably going to accelerate that.
Yep.
We probably, I think, going to see that in the EU, because typically, even though we're not in the EU, I would be very surprised if we didn't adopt a similar set of regulation here in the UK.
Yeah.
And given given the people like the CMA and all other organisations lately, well, yeah, let's be surprised. They, anything else would not be a shock, would it? In that respect.
No, not in the slightest.
So when does this come into force then? Is this now, or is this a couple of years' time?
Oh, when's this? I think it's partly now. So I think the license part is coming in 2024, if I remember rightly. To have your crypto license, or equivalent to your banking license. The other part around tracking and having that information available about whose it came from and who it's going to isn't until 2026, if I remember correctly.
Oh, interesting. Well, I did see a related story. I don't know if you saw this as well. Last week, Pakistan made cryptocurrency illegal. Well,
did they? No, I missed that one.
So actually, what they actually said was the head Minister of Finance, Ashia Ghaus Pasha, said that a statement of the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Revenue that cryptocurrency will never be legalized in Pakistan. And now they're
working. Not legalized, but not made illegal.
Well, apparently the central bank, the State Bank of Pakistan, SBP, and the Ministry of Information Technology, that's an interesting one, were apparently have been ordered to create a ban. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. As you said, making it illegal or saying it was never legal to start with is two different things. And what they've said is that it was kind of a grey area, so they were never illegal nor regulated.
Yeah.
And recommendation made last year in January to ban it, but it never came, because actually, which is not surprising in a country where their currency is not doing particularly well. I suspect crypto probably was doing well.
As a
backdoor. So the EU are banning. The EU are not banning crypto, obviously, but Pakistan has. The EU is regulating, but who knows where this will go. But the Dora, Mika meet Dora. That was
Mika,
it.
Not Dora. Yeah, that one.
Mika meet Dora. So talking of regulatory and fines, then Meta I've had to get their wallet out this week, haven't they? Big time.
They have, to the tune of $1.3 billion, or is it 1.2 billion euros? Wasn't it, somewhere around there?
Yeah, there's not much
in it. It was fined by the EU data regulators, and basically ordered to stop transferring Facebook data from of EU citizens to the US. Now, the previous record was 746 million levied against Amazon in 2021. So this is more than double, really, or thereabouts. The ruling was made by the Ireland's Data Protection Commission, BBC, which basically said that the current legal framework of data transfers to the US did not address the risk to the fundamental rights and freedoms of Facebook's EU users and violated GDPR. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. Are we shocked?
No, not at all. And it just got funnier and funnier the more I read about this. So last year, Meta threatened it would be forced to consider shutting down Facebook and Instagram in the EU. Oh,
that was it. Yes, they did.
Yeah, if it wasn't able to send data back to the US. Because obviously this US-EU agreement was cut off in 2000?
Yeah.
13, 14, 15? I can't remember what it was now. It was a while ago, and no new agreement is in place. I think we're apparently meant to have one by next year, maybe. But yeah, so Meta last year kind of threatened to say, well, we don't get our own way, we might have to pull out. Well, it seems the EU has called Meta's bluff and stated that Meta cannot just blackmail the EU into giving up its data protection standards, leaving the EU would be their loss.
that is the royal two fingers.
That was raising the middle finger there.
That was you're right. Basically, if you want to go, we're not going to stop you. The door's over there.
Pack your bags if you'd like. I
mean, Nick Clegg, isn't he? Nick Clegg, who used to be the deputy prime minister in the UK and now is Nick Clegg. How dare we forget? Didn't he in a post that they wrote for their thing, he said it was unjustified and unnecessary. Well, I'm not totally sure that's right, is it?
Yeah. Facebook doesn't have a great track record, does it, with keeping
No,
anyone's data safe?
no.
No. So, I mean, the ruling does only apply to Facebook, though, not other meta companies like Instagram or WhatsApp. And there's a 5-month grace period before Meta has to stop future transfers, and a 6-month deadline to stop holding current data in the US. So, yeah,
So
Meta's
this
got a
was
lot of work to be done.
well, this originally was sanctioned under the Privacy Shield, wasn't it? Which was
Yeah.
replaced. What was the one? The original. There was another original one before, wasn't there? The Safe Harbor, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Safe Harbor, yeah.
So Privacy Shield then was there before that said that that was to do with transfer of data, but I believe wasn't it 2020? I remember because we covered it, I think, didn't we?
Well, this was all to do with Snowden, wasn't it? It kind of
Yeah,
found out that basically they weren't keeping our data safe, and it basically was meaningless.
that's right. So the EU, the top court in the EU decided that the Privacy Shield was meaningless, wasn't it? So basically, anything to do with that, any transfers under that were therefore null and void.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised that there are a lot of companies. I mean, Facebook's argument or Meta's argument was, well, actually, they're one of thousands, wasn't it? Companies that are using this to do that. Well,
True.
given that this is probably now a landmark case, all those other companies should probably stop doing what they're doing as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you know why we picked on you first, Facebook? As we mentioned, your track record is
You've got a track record of it, yeah.
And even when you know you're doing wrong, you carry on anyway.
It is.
Just hope not to get caught.
No. So given that this is 1.3 billion US, was it
really? It's a slap,
not really? But last year, Amazon, don't forget, had the 746 million fine again for similar violations. I mean, there's one thing we said when GDPR came out. Would it have my dog's talking there? Would it have teeth? The reality is, I think it does have teeth. GDPR.
Yes.
Not the 10% though. It's not. They've never.
1.3 billion is nowhere near the 10% of their current worldwide revenue or whatever it is it?
No, not at all. But it's still not. It's still not a paltry amount. It's still a lot of money. That's got to be paid for from somewhere.
Well, it has, yeah. More selling of our data.
Well, true. Now Meta have said they are going to appeal, and they're going to appeal, and they're going to seek a stay with the courts, according to Nick Clegg, wasn't it? Because what was it? What was the line that made me laugh? Oh, that's right. Given that this order would cause harm to millions of people who use Facebook every day, no, mate, not bothered with that. But interestingly, though, was it that one of the who was it now? The guy's name. Where was the guy's name? I had my notes here. The guy who brought this originally, wasn't it? Max. That's it. The lawyer, Max Schrems, who was an Austrian lawyer, who has been in a legal battle with Meta for nearly over 10 years now. He believes that any illegal appeal is going to be successful, isn't it? He thinks that actually they'll get turned down, and that this new EU-US data transfer protocol to replace Privacy Shield, which is apparently coming in later this year, will not be successful either, isn't it? So it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, very interesting to see where this one goes, but
it comes back to, like you say, the Snowden piece and around the US surveillance, and particularly, I'm guessing, the NSA in more than anybody else, isn't it?
I imagine so. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes, but imagine, well, are Meta going to pull out, or are they just going to suck it up and keep the EU data in the EU?
Well, that's what I was just going to. That was my next point. Was why cannot Meta keep customer data in? I don't understand. As I'm saying, I don't understand why they seem to be going to such extremes to state that is impossible, or at least not attempting it.
Well, I imagine because once it's in the US, there are no rules about what they can do with it.
No, but actually, surely keep it. Why not keep it in? Keep it in the.
They've got servers. They've got DCs over, haven't they? They can keep the EU data in here. They can run their advertising campaigns against the data on EU citizens and just have it for the EU and keep the two separate.
They just don't want to, because, like your point, to do that would imply that they would then have to keep do control it. And whereas if it's in the US, you're right, they can scrape it, they can sell it, and they can do what they like with it.
Yeah,
exactly. which is the problem. So 1.3 billion, then maybe more. Who knows? Maybe if they go to appeal, maybe the fine will be increased. Who knows?
Maybe they'll leave. Do us all a favor.
Chance would be a fine thing, my friend.
It's not happening, but yeah.
All right then. From one story to we are big fans of Grand Theft Auto on this show, and we have talked at length over the years. Well, how many copies do we own between us of Grand Theft Auto 5?
I have. What is it? I bought it on the PlayStation 3. Was it when it first came out?
Yep.
And then I bought it on the Xbox One and the PC. So I've got 3 copies. I did not buy the enhanced version, though I was very tempted. But
no, I've got 3 copies as well. So PS3, PS4, and then PC. Yeah. So 6 copies of GTA 5 between us. I don't plan on buying 3 copies of GTA 6, just so we're clear.
We'll revisit this conversation in 5 years and see how many copies you have.
It is, but so according to an investor report, then Take-Two have stated that the next version of GTA is underway. Now they didn't state it with GTA 6; they just stated that it was underway.
Yeah, so they stated the next version. This was about half a year ago. They stated that they were working on it. It was well underway, but this is more about their latest quarterly investor report. Okay, so this is not an outright announcement. It was just stuff that surfaced due to questions there. So they had this the other week. And in it, they basically predicted that the next financial year will be a bumper one due to release of several groundbreaking titles that will set new standards for the industry and it will propel them from $5.3 billion to over $8 billion in net bookings. Okay, so one of those predictions, probably the only one that's going to take them there, is looking at their portfolio, a brand new GTA 6. And we also know we know it's well into development. They've said that themselves. They've announced that. They're not calling it GTA 6, but the next installment is well underway, so it probably makes sense. And especially look at the timeline. So their next financial year, like most businesses, doesn't necessarily run January to December. Theirs runs April 2024 all the way around to March 2025. So we might not see it to 2025 itself, but more than likely, I imagine this is going to be some point in 2024, just so they've got enough time to ramp up the money coming in to hit that 8 billion net booking. So I don't know. Maybe the second half of 2024 before Christmas, I imagine. That's just purely me speculating.
And it's going to be my also guess is it will be a giant console launch across both platforms. Straight away. We won't see any PC version of this. I don't think for at least another year beyond that.
If they just released it on day one, Xbox Game Pass would be amazing. That's not happening.
No, we might. Look, stranger things have happened. We could see a simultaneous PC launch as well. Given the next gen consoles and the kind of work that's required,
there's certainly similarities between Xbox One and a PC now, and the hardware comparison in there. It should be. So, the Xbox uses DirectX, so it shouldn't be too much of a challenge.
So we could see that. But I would, this is going to be, the biggest launch. Anybody in the industry is not going to want to launch anything at the same time as GTA 6 when that comes out.
There will be nothing released for several months before or after.
No, there will be a gap in the schedule because it's like running against Trump in the presidential election. You want to avoid that. But also,
we're buying 2 copies, aren't you? You know this because we're buying the Xbox One on day one, and then because the PC won't come out for another year, we're buying it on PC later to get the better graphics. So that's at least 2 copies.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say that interesting. They said they reckon there's a couple of games in there. And one of the other games that could launch before this though is Judas, isn't it? Which is coming from the guy who created BioShock, Ken Levine. But I don't see that being like they say, $2 billion plus game, isn't it? It's going to be something else.
Not. I mean, that's going to add to it for sure. But it's GTA 6 and GTA Online based on GTA 6 is just going to bring in so much money.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a quick look at Judas. So Judas was announced last year. There was a short video given out of that, which kind of shows gameplay. Now, if you've ever played anything to do with BioShock, it just looks like BioShock. There's no other way to describe it. The same artwork, the same kind of story. It's to do with a starship that's breaking up, and you've got to escape. And it looks quite interesting, but literally
it's not GTA 6. It's not got the mass market appeal.
No,
I mean it looks good. I'll probably buy Judas, definitely. But doesn't have the mass market appeal of GTA 6.
No, and I think we've got other big games coming out this year. We've got Starfield coming this year, of course, which is not related to GTA 6, but again, in terms of big launches. Yeah, the only thing is that, GTA 6, apart from that small leak last year that, basically said that it's going to be in Vice City and that will be 2 protagonists, there really hasn't been anything else said about it, has there?
No,
Nothing
they've been
else.
quite tight-lipped, considering how far into development even Take-Two say it is.
Yeah, very, very quiet on the front here. In fact, other intelligence agencies and companies could probably look to Take-Two to look out there.
Take note on this one, yeah.
Yeah, but there you go. So potentially we could see GTA 6 next year. Realistically, we're probably looking at 25, aren't we? Really, more than anything.
I reckon the end of 2024, just before Christmas. I reckon.
Well, actually,
after Christmas.
If I recall, GTA 5 was a September 13th,
September,
was it?
October,
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, let's go back to Musk then. So, if you recall, the other week we talked around how Musk was quite upset that Microsoft were leveraging the Twitter API. So back in, I think it was in mid-April. Yeah, back in April, we talked about this, wasn't it? That Microsoft rejected, wasn't it, 42 grand a month to use the Twitter API.
Starting at 42.
Oh yes, sorry, that was the starting price.
That's
yes,
the starting price.
North of 42 grand a month of it. Now, Elon has decided, hasn't he, that actually things have got worse, and he's unleashed his personal attack lawyer, Alex Spiro, who has sent Microsoft a letter stating that they are in violation of the Twitter developer agreement. Then,
yeah, they have. So violate Twitter's development agreement. The letter states, Microsoft violates multiple provisions of the developer agreement for an extended period of time. And the letter requests a compliance audit of how 8 Microsoft apps use Twitter data.
Microsoft, let's be honest, Microsoft's legal team at the moment are very angry given the CMA's ruling. The last thing that you want to be doing is pouring petrol or gasoline on that fire.
I know.
I mean, it's just nuts.
He has gone to make several accusations, basically including that Microsoft used Twitter's APIs for unauthorized uses and purposes, and that Microsoft's apps exceeded the rate limit for Twitter's API. Well, up until last month when it declined to pay even a discounted rate for continued access to the API and content. So I'm confused. How can they exceed the rate limit? Surely it means, one, your rate limit doesn't work, or there wasn't actually anything enforcing it in the first place.
Well, that's a very valid point. My view is there's nothing enforcing it in the first place.
I don't know. Exactly. They've written some scribble down somewhere in the T's and C's that you won't use more than 10 an hour or something, and it's never been enforced, and there's nothing controlling it. So,
no. And now it's like, hang on a minute, we're just going to backtrack and pretend that it was always there, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they have said that Microsoft basically operates 8 separate Twitter API apps, which appear to provide data and functionality for at least 5 separate Microsoft products and services. So Xbox One, Bing Pages, Azure, Power Platforms, and their ad platform, which I think was the thing that kicked Elon up, wasn't it, about their ad platform using it? Yeah. But Microsoft, as always, said, look, today we heard from a law firm representing Twitter with some questions about our previous use of the free Twitter API. We will review these questions and respond appropriately. We look forward to continue our long-term partnership with the company. Yeah, right.
I mean, how diplomatic do you get?
That was very well diplomatic, and they highlighted the word free Twitter API.
Yeah, that's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. But so, I mean, interesting, you can't even share game clips now, can you, to Twitter from Microsoft?
No, Microsoft just pulled all the API integrations.
Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, Twitter, so interestingly, Elon Musk was at the presidential candidate launch, wasn't he, for Ron DeSantis, which was it yesterday, wasn't it? Was it yesterday? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was yesterday.
A couple of days ago, I don't know. Didn't it melt?
Yeah, so Elon Musk was present, and it was launched on Twitter, and it was apparently they were using Twitter Spaces, so the live streaming platform, and apparently though they had 600,000 listeners, and they were gaining 50,000. According to Musk, I should state, they were gaining 50,000 listeners a minute. But apparently, within a few minutes, it started. They had feedback. It started to have audio issues, and then it just crashed.
A complete meltdown. Yeah, exactly. I don't know where to start with, man. It's just one mess after another, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, according to David Sachs, who's one of the donors and a friend of Elon Musk, who was moderating that event, apparently they said on that Twitter Spaces that, according to him, I think it crashed because when you multiply 500,000 people in a room by an account with over 100 million followers, which is Elon, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have a scalability problem. Oh, I thought Twitter was back end, but of course, this is another thing, isn't it? Another prototype. Now, according to a former Twitter employee, he told CNN that Spaces was a prototype, and wait for this, a janky tool. That was his word, not mine. It's a
Sounds
beta
about right.
test that never ended, and
Oh
apparently it
wow.
was built on Periscope, which that was never integrated properly with Twitter. It was running as a separate app. I think
None of that surprised me in the slightest.
I think we've got a glimpse of how that presidential campaign is going to be run.
Yeah, I don't hold out much hope for him.
No, I don't. I don't at all. It's very peculiar, very very peculiar. So that is then the news that Microsoft is being sued by Twitter. Oh dear, oh
I'm
dear, oh
sure they're
dear, oh dear.
scared.
All right, so from one crazy story to another, it looks like Bezos is off to the moon. Well, not Jeff himself, but Blue Origin, his
Mhm.
space company, with their slightly phallic-shaped rockets. They've been asked by NASA to make a lunar lander to coincide with one of the Artemis missions that are going to the moon.
Yeah, I
Now,
do.
interestingly, SpaceX are also a part of that program, aren't they? So
They are, yes.
this is hedging your bets, isn't it?
Isn't this for a later one?
This is for a later one. So this is currently for Artemis 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
So first of all, this is Artemis 5 mission will fly 4 astronauts to the new Gateway space station, which hasn't even been designed or
No,
built yet.
no. Using
Um,
SLS.
using SLS, which again has only had one flight. And then they will use the Orion spacecraft that will take 2 astronauts for a trip to the moon for a week on the South Pole. So
Sounds
yeah, I mean,
delightful.
quite no,
Yeah.
quite
It's interesting they're
optimistic.
not going to be using Blue Origin's actual rocket, though, to take the Orion capsule up.
No, it's going to be part of. It's going to be based on the SLS system, isn't it? They're going to
Much,
integrate
yeah.
it.
But it'd been cheaper to do it on Blue Origins. But
Maybe,
anyway,
but they haven't really perfected those kind
no,
of
they haven't. They could have got Musk to
rocketry.
send it up.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but if you remember back in 21, we reported about SpaceX winning that contract, and Blue Origin had
Yeah,
then lost. They lost, didn't they, against NASA at court?
they did. Yeah.
But then the following year, uh, invitation by NASA companies to develop this additional lander, which obviously is how Bezos have got in. But yeah, so there's not much really to go on, but apparently this will happen in
No.
2029 as part of a $3.4 billion contract. And apparently there's going to be an uncrewed demonstrator launch, isn't there, in the coming
There is.
years?
That'll be the first one. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. So what's your thoughts here on this? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, it's good that they're going to have multiple parties, isn't it? I think that's probably needed, but that's really only using that to drive down the pricing. It's a competition thing, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, why not? I'm still going to be very interested to see it, but 2029 is quite a while away yet.
I've got a question, and maybe I'm wrong here. I don't believe Blue Origin have done an orbital flight yet.
No, they've gone all the way up. How far did they go? Did they go to? They didn't go an actual orbit, did they? Did they reached space and then came back down?
No, that's
But
so.
they've
Yeah,
not.
so we've so Blue Origin isn't it their Shepherd
Yeah, that's the one. New Shepard.
New Shepard? The New Shepard is suborbital, so space
Yeah,
tourism. That was again rather phallic looking one. Apparently,
yeah.
they've got the new Glenn, which is
Ah,
a
that's the
heavy lift
one.
launch
Yeah.
vehicle. But that hasn't even launched. That's apparently that won't launch until Q3 next year.
Okay. Well, hence why they're going for SLS. But mind you, SLS hasn't launched either, though, has it?
So NASA has picked a company which has a rocket into an orbit to design a lander. Now, I suppose you're right. The argument here is they're not having to build the rocket to go with it because that's been done by NASA. They just need to build the lander. But again, I'm just thinking, But I'll actually, you know what? That was a stupid comment because when you think back at it, who built the lunar landers back in the 60s? Wasn't it people like Lockheed and Grumman? They hadn't built
Yeah.
rockets before either. So you know what?
No,
Probably
no,
this
they
will be,
hadn't.
this is probably not a bad approach. But Blue Origin is off to the moon then. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see more on this, and hopefully we'll, there'll be more news coming out around.
Lots of TV to watch.
Yeah, indeed. But so then, before we get into the
Oh.
rumor mill, Sony dropped a bit of a bombshell the other day, didn't they, with their Project Q?
Yes, I was about to say, they announced this at the PlayStation Showcase, and basically they announced the Wii U. No, I mean, sorry, the Project Q. uh, yeah, it's basically a Wii U, isn't it? So it's a dedicated streaming device. Looks a bit like it's like they've taken one of their DualShock controllers, sawn it in half, pulled it apart, and slapped an 8-inch screen in it, doesn't it? And this is designed as a dedicated streaming device, but not for PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus, whatever they call it, but as a companion to the PlayStation 5. Okay, so it can only be used with the PS5. You can't install games locally on it or stream
Nope.
from the cloud. You can only stream basically in your own home from your PS5. So really, it's a secondary screen. So just pretty much, it's the Wii U.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I saw this, I was like, oh, that looks really clever. That's really modern, futuristic
It looks
design, a great
nice,
looking
yeah.
screen. But basically, it's if somebody is playing the PlayStation and they're
They're
using
taking the main TV. Yeah, they're taking the main
yeah,
TV.
that's it. And you can't use the main TV, so you want to play your PS, and we need to do it in another room. That is basically what it is. A
You don't want to
streaming
stop
device.
playing while you're on the toilet.
No. Oh, well, I guess that's the other way to look at it.
That's
Yeah,
the other option. So yeah, we don't know much about it. So it looks like a DualShock controller sawn in half, and it's 8-inch 1080p LCD screen slapped in the middle. No local games, no cloud play, or maybe it will come later, but it's not what they said in the initial announcement. And basically, it has to be on your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so exactly, that's exactly what it is, a streaming service. Now there is talk, isn't there, that or at least some kind of rumor that potentially that this could become allowed the streaming service, that they have, but there was nothing of that in the initial launch, was there?
No, it wasn't announced. So it may come later. We didn't get any pricing. All we've been told is it'll be released later in the year. But on pricing, I mean, if it only streams from your PlayStation 5, how much are you willing to pay for this? I mean, it looked like a nice bit of kit. It didn't seem like a cheap bit of kit. I mean, okay, they're using LCD and not an OLED screen. But this is Sony. I reckon they're still going to put in at like
Of course
$250,
it will. Yeah,
$300 easily plus. I'm not sure.
yeah.
I mean,
It,
$150 or $200. Yeah, I'd probably go, you know what? Yeah, I could see a use for that, maybe. Especially if later on you could then stream from PlayStation Now plus whatever it's called. But yeah, it all depends on that price, doesn't it?
It does, and I think that's the problem here is that Sony, typically come in with higher pricing, and given the
Mm.
functionality of this device at the minute, how much money are you going to want to drop on it when you can remote play games from PS5
Yeah,
without this bit of kit already? You can
and
do it
it's
on
probably using
phones.
the same protocols. I imagine it'll be a slimmed down installer Linux with PlayStation's remote play app on it, basically.
I mean, ironically, you can even stream to the stream. You can even remote play PS5 games on your Steam Deck, so with an
Yeah,
app. So I mean, look, it looks great as always with Sony kit. The idea is fantastic, but execution here will be everything, won't it? Really.
it will be, definitely.
So, and again, well, as soon as we have some information on and full details of that, we'll follow up the story here. But yeah, very peculiar, classic release from Sony on a just again very odd choice of games. I did have a question. I couldn't see with it. What happens if somebody's playing on the PS5 already? Can you play on this with a different game?
No, well, it doesn't say, but I'm going to say you can't play it.
No. So that's another way to look at it. Yeah. Very intriguing indeed. So Project Q out soon. Right then.
Oh, we've got an interesting one here, haven't we?
We have in the rumor mill this week. So what have we got then, Carl?
Well, so we're done with the Pixel 7 line now. Let's talk about the 8. So we've started to have some rumors out. We've already seen initial CAD drawings and a video leaked on Twitter, which has now been taken down, of a purported prototype, which actually matched the CAD drawings we'd already seen, but had an interesting feature. It actually had an infrared thermometer built into it. like your normal thermometers you use for taking your temperature. You know, you roll it across your head or point it at your head. So it has one of those built, and they were showing it working. Google, where were you during the COVID pandemic? We could have really done with one of these built into your phone. It would have been really helpful.
I have to say, I mean, I read this and I saw the the idea, and I was like, this is brilliant. And I mean, we've talked about thermometers before, haven't we? Like, there's rumors around, the Apple Watch getting one, isn't it? And which it
Well, the
did.
watch has it in, doesn't it?
It
Yeah,
does.
it
I say
did. Yep.
the rumors, but it now has one in, but it's only using
Yep.
it for cycle tracking, isn't it?
It is. Oh, yeah.
Though interesting, I did notice the other day when I was looking on the Apple Health app, it told me about my wrist temperature. But it only gave me it gave me like a benchmark, but it didn't tell me specifics. So this could be quite useful. I think this is quite a clever idea.
Definitely.
There is talk this could be used to do inanimate objects as well, not just people. So yeah, I mean, the execution.
I don't see why not? It's infrared. It doesn't know what you're pointing at.
It would be really good. I'd like to see this come out because actually, think of all the uses for this. It could really be a helpful bit of kit if it's executed properly.
Especially if it's accurate.
Well, yeah,
taking kids' temperatures would be amazing.
Yeah, but is it any different to the ones that we have today? That we've got one for our kids that you put in their ear. It looks like a little torch, just gently touches the side of the ear.
We've got one you put on their head. I question its accuracy.
Right,
you can never find out though. It's. You look at the reviews on Amazon, and some say it's a brilliant and accurate, and others that it's terrible, doesn't work, and you just can't actually find anywhere to go that reviews these kind of things that will tell you if it's accurate or not.
No, well, that's the thing, isn't it? I suppose, but accuracy is going to be king, whether or not this is going to be effective and working, isn't it? But on the other hand, like we said, it does sound like a good idea. I'm definitely interested to see where it comes, how well it comes out. So let's see what happens, and we'll go from there really on that one. Again, there is these leaks, as you say, it has only been leaked. Officially it's been pulled, so there is no guarantee that it will come out.
This wasn't a Google leak.
No,
like they've been doing. This was somebody else leaking it.
We'll see. Yes, but who knows? It could actually be a real thing, and given the kind of the way the leaks are at the minute, probably is actually given, isn't it?
Why not? Yeah.
All right. So thermometers in the Pixel 8, which could, I don't see the iPhone get one of those. So maybe it's Pixel time.
Exactly. So on to our last story of the day. This is an odd one. So we've talked about Magic Leap in the past, haven't we?
We have.
Probably not for a while, but they raised an awful lot of cash from investors for their AR technology. It's meant to revolutionise. And it never really happened. The first version was rubbish. The second version is going to be a lot better, but it's just too expensive. But anyway, putting that aside, Meta are reportedly wanting to license or in talks to license Magic Leap's AR technology. So apparently they're close to signing a multi-year IP licensing and manufacturing pact where, Magic Leap license their AR tech to Meta, also helping with the manufacturing of new potential AR headsets.
So I guess this is a point for Meta. Why burn millions of D when you can turn to somebody that's already done it and is doing a really good job of it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, why not? Look how much money Magic Leap has blown through building this out, billions and billions and billions, and I don't think Meta can actually afford that. I mean, didn't they just lay off another 5,000 people the other day, including people from the AR VR division?
Yeah, they did. So and also this, interestingly, again, by doing this, it would also reduce any additional dependency on China, which is certainly from the US, isn't it? There's a lot of government pressure to kind of uncouple themselves from the Chinese influence. So again, that could work out from here.
So maybe make a leap across in front of Apple and stuff like another entrance in the AR space.
But the kind of the rumor here though is that we won't see a joint headset. That this will purely be a technology licensing capability as opposed to a joint venture. So I mean, it's interesting. I think this is genuine. The CEO Peggy Johnson, was quoted last year saying that there's been an incredible amount of interest across the industry for licensing their IPs. So they're going to want to do this. Why burn lots of money in R&D when if you've got somebody who can do it, go for it. And I think it makes good business sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Magic Leap are doing great stuff. Meta is burning money, as you say, absolutely burning money. And of course, we've got Apple coming out next, in a week or so's time with WWDC, talking about, their new AR VR headset. Well, at least that's what we expect to see at the event.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they're inviting all the VR people, so I'm pretty sure it is.
yeah, exactly. So Meta are going to want to do something here to get ahead of the game here. So yeah, I'm curious to know where this is going to go. I'm curious to see if Meta do it. We haven't had any official word from Meta or seeing anything that is the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if following Dub we see some announcements. That would be my logical thought process on this.
Definitely.
Right then, well, on that note, then that's probably a good place for us to wrap up here this week. Bit of a shorter show this week, but I'm sure that nobody's going to complain with that. We'll be back next week for episode 136 of the Weekly Tech Rant, and I can tell you now that episode 136 will be our Dub special. So look out for that in a couple of weeks' time as we give you the latest on all of the announcements that are going to at that event from Apple and Cupertino. So, of course, you can find all of our show notes at techrant.online. We are still on the Twitter at Weekly Tech Rant, and you can find us there. Please share, give us a like, tell us your friends about it, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts from, you can find us on those platforms. I think that's it. Nothing else from me. I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Good day, all.